Hello, my name is Jeff Hoagland, and I'm joined here by Kent Ketter for the last segment of our Set 6 Scars of War set review. We've saved the best for last, and all the multi-shard cards in this set are pretty sweet and powerful. They're actually the largest segment out of all of them. So we're going to start off here with quite easily the most mobile card in Scars of War, which is the Brilliant Tactician. So it is an 8 cost with a ruby diamond threshold, 3/3, but it has mobilize, 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 mobilize. For each instance of mobilize, you can exhaust a troop you control and reduce the cost of this card by 2 as you play it. This means
they call it the Running Man.
This means if you have 4 troops in play, you can just exhaust all of them and put this into play for free without paying any resources if you meet the threshold requirement. It also has a line of text that says, whenever another troop you control readies, it gets +2/+2 until the start of your next turn. So you can exhaust a bunch of troops that are too small to attack through your opponent's current board, and then the next turn when they all ready, this guy pops up and then makes them large enough to attack. The thing that jumps out at me with this guy is that Ada, the champion that makes 2 phantoms, your turn 5 can be Ada, make 2 phantoms, play a 3-drop, and then play this as a 2-drop, and then start being aggressive the next turn with all of your guys that were previously exhausted.
If you have anything that generates a large quantity of, or we'll say small, insignificant creatures, these can start to chain into each other. Just one downside with it, it's very minor, but steadfast creatures don't really jive with the old tactician. It's a very small thing.
So a lot of the cards we've talked about are fun ofs in the Ardent Crusader deck. So this card would kind of be at odds with the card that gives all your other Ardent troops steadfast. You wouldn't want to play both of those in the same deck because they're not a combo.
Ready for War, Brilliant Tactician. Or is it ready? Not ready. No, that's not it. The double diamond 4-cost card.
It exhausts all your troops.
It's an action.
Yep.
Yeah, and they get
bigger.
plus.
That's overkill.
Too.
Yep, because that card makes them all big enough, so this card doesn't need to be
Brilliant Tactician is exactly what you would want for that deck.
This seems exactly. Yep, it's a playable version of that.
Fun of.
Speaking of mobilize, next up we have a mobile quick action here with Cosmic Calling. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put a revealed non-resource card into your hand. It gets mobilized. Put the other cards into your deck.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, you know what card really needs to be slightly more?
Which one's that?
It involves 3 owls.
Then it'll be as mobile as the Tactician.
Yes. Just in case you needed a 4th owl in full judge attire. The wig and all. There's probably a better name for that. But anyway, consult the talents can cost.
One of the things that can be really obnoxious with this card, too, is if you pick up a copy of Deny with it, your Deny will be free anytime you had a troop come into play under your control that turn. Because you could just, exhaust the troop to,
Can't play around all of it.
Yep. Next up, we have kind of a sweet card that may or may not be playable. It's a powerful effect, though. We have From the Ashes. It's blood, diamond, diamond. Destroy all troops, and then choose a troop in an opposing crypt and put it into play under your control. The most important thing to mention about this card is that it can get back one of the troops that's destroyed.
Yep. Simply put, best creature available on your opponent's side is now your creature, no board. Seems pretty awesome.
The only thing that kind of concerns me with this card is that because the slow shards are rotating out of standard, to play this card in standard would involve only 1 dual shard, because we just have the well. So, double threshold requirements in 2 different directions means consistency might be kind of an issue playing this. But if you can make the resources work, the payoff is definitely worth the cost, I think.
Yep. I see this being in your reserves and really helping out in maybe some of your slower matches and any sort of, diamond, blood, mid-range deck, and you want the ability to go over the top out of your reserves. Boom, right here. Nice wild strategy for the ones at home.
We talked about Yodel coming back with the Arena Regular in the Ruby section, and Gorge of the Gorgod screams, please play me, I'm Yodel. So I think that the amount of tools that we're getting for these other aggressive strategies might finally push the Mono Ruby deck out of being just the de facto best choice. So Gorge of the Gorgod, 1+X with a Ruby Blood Threshold requirement. Target troop gets -X permanently, which is important because it means it retains that modifier even if it doesn't kill that troop, and it deals X damage to each opposing champion. So just like kill a guy, fireball, just like whatever you need to be doing.
The other thing that's really important with that, it's going to keep that negative. So if there's some pesky sort of, recursive creatures and the like, it lines up well with those. Does this also work if a creature, some of the creatures that upon death cry turn into like something else? Would they retain the negative modifier?
This would kill Wrathwood Master Moss because
sure. I know that's going to Immortal, right? But
yep.
Yeah. Really important. So if the Kago decks
or like a card that still sees play, there's the 1-shot 4/2 flyer that comes back into play after it dies. So if you gave this that -2/2, it would come back and immediately die again.
And it kills Twilight Revenant. And they take some damage.
Next up, we have here a card that I hinted at when we were talking about the Charkmart earlier. This is the Hate Hollow Witch, which is a 3-cost wild ruby card that's 4/2 that says each champion can play an additional resource each turn, so you can kind of start playing through those resources that the Charkmart gave you to replenish what it lost right away. And it says whenever any champion plays the resources, deals 1 damage to that champion. So what's your take on this one?
I like where it lines us up. So on your turn 3, it'd be your turn 3. We're assuming, maybe you messed with some soil and maybe you're on, a 4-resource draw. You could play Hate Hollow Witch, leaving you with 1. Then you play another resource, take 1 damage, which is fine. Go with a 2-card follow-up like a Cottontail Explorer, and then pass it over to your opponent. And if they want to contribute 2 resources to the field, if they can, because if they're like an aggressive, we'll say a diamond strategy, they might not even have the double resource to drop. They'll take some damage for it. And you untap with this, I really think we're going to start slamming some, how do I say this, massive things into play. So I love
Crocosaur is here and he's angry.
Yes.
And he loves to be played ahead of curve.
The other thing you could look at with this, this is in that non-faction specific deck. You put multiples of this into play. The pressure exerted by the creatures both attacking and for the control decks trying to build their resources. Like, I'll hit you for 4. I'll hit you for 4. Like, you can't, the Sapphire control decks have to deal with these by not contributing too many resources over the course of like 2 Hate Hollow Witches in play.
Oh God, yep. Burn, baby, burn.
That's fine. You get an extra resource, take 2.
Next up, we have here what might be one of my favorite cards in this set. We have Prince Zakah, which is the triple threshold card in this set. It costs Diamond, Ruby, and Blood. 3 cost is 3/1 with lethal, speed, and swift strike. And he has Diligence. And his Diligence says, whenever you ready this, you get to look at the top card of each opposing champion's deck, and you may play the card you're looking at for free. So he has speed. That means he can start triggering Diligence as early as the 4th turn after you play him out. And he has lethal and swift strike, which means he's probably winning most combat scenarios he gets into.
Yeah, the stat line is just absurd. I'm really excited to see how consistently we can put this at play on turn 3.
Yeah, that's going to be the ticket. 2 important things to note. He's necrotic and he's underworld. So he helps enable your Underworld Crusader, and your Underworld Crusader and him help enable your Necrotic Shard for fixing.
And Awaken Herald provides 2 of... Awaken Herald lines up perfectly in this deck. Just for a small thing there, it's a Necrotic Warrior. Awakened Herald costs a Diamond Shard, and it deploys to gain you either a Blood Ruby or Sapphire. So in this case, Blood Ruby going into your Zakaz on 3.
Yep. Next up, we have Rift Spasm. So Rift Spasm is a type of card that I wouldn't be too surprised if it doesn't see too much play in the standard format, since the more powerful Crackling cards like Crackling Bolt and Crackling Wit are rotating out. But this card strikes me as going to be very powerful in Immortal with not only those cards, but also something like Crackling Vortex as well. So it's a 2/3 for 3 with Ruby, Sapphire Threshold requirement that says at the end of each turn, if you gained 2 or more charges this turn, one of these things happens at random. You either summon a Bolt Spasm, which is just a 3/1, or you draw a card, or this gets +2/+2 permanently.
Yeah, this feels like a huge payoff in any sort of action-centered decks in Immortal. I'm excited for it, but I'm also, well, I hate to use that again. It'll be interesting. All three modes are pretty powerful. The last two especially seem amazing. So,
yep. And like having a McBombus style deck, like having a troop that gets larger to like tango with like the wild troops that often come up the board, like that seems super reasonable.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of troops that are super reasonable, we have Rylanthe the Soul Cursed here, which is a 5/5 for 5 with flight.
5/5.
You know, decent stats that when deployed, each opposing troop gets soul crushed.
Huh. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
What's soul cursed?
So soul cursed, crushed, cursed, whatever. Soul cursed says whenever a soul cursed troop dies, all the other soul cursed troops die.
So Rylanthe, the soul cursed, brings the ruckus when he comes into play.
He does. And so they're not just completely screwed. You can remove soul cursed from a troop by discarding a card from your hand. But basically, if you play this card in the same turn you have removal up and your opponent doesn't have any cards in your hand, you can basically turn a piece of spot removal into a board sweeper with a 5/5 dragon attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Or if they're greedy, awful, dirty diamond playing, characters, and they have like 30 troops in play, we're gonna get them.
Gonna get them. Yep, because remember, when you discard the card, it only removes Soul Curse from that one unit. So eventually, something with Soul Curse will die, and they will all burn.
Oh.
Next up, we have another sweet. We have another sweet Sapphire Blood card called Something Borrowed. It reads, it's a 5-cost quick action that says put target opposing card into your hand. And this is sweet because these shards generally don't have good, reasonable answers to cards like artifacts and constants. So you could just like grab target problem off the other side of the table and pick it up and put it in your hand. It gets around things like Death Cry from Crusaders and stuff like that. One thing I'm not sure of is, does this work with cards on the chain? So it says target cards, like opposing cards are on the chain. So like if this is a makeshift counterspell or interrupt, I'm super excited to play it. Even if it's not, it's probably fine as like a one of, as just like fixed target problem.
It's better than the old option of Chaos Key.
You're not wrong. As someone who's registered Chaos Key in many a Blood Sapphire decks, this is much better. Also worth noting is that unlike a lot of the previous effects that like take your opponent's cards to your hand, this does not change the threshold requirements of the card you're taking, which means you're not always going to be able to replay their card back out, but on the occasions where you do, it's going to be upside.
You could also go a little bit deeper with it. With the quick typing on it, I at it in a control deck. That might not be something that exists, but Something Borrowed feels like a card that could really play a role there. So it's a 1-for-0 kind of answer dealio. I'm interested.
Yep. Next up, we have the Solespeaker Revenant. Pair along with your Ketter's favorite card, the Twilight Reverent. So this is a 3/2 with a major socket that has Diligence. Put a random troop from your crypt into your hand. That card gets all socketed powers of this. The major socket in this is kind of interesting because like all these Diligence cards with sockets, my brain goes right to, I just want to put a flight gem in this so I can have a little bit of evasion and guaranteed that I'm going to get to trigger this Diligence effect over and again.
Mm-hmm. It'll be nice to put that random troop, your maybe your Ardent Crusaders. Your Underworld. Obviously, without this being typed, that looks a little weird. But no. This seems much better to get back the what's its name? The socketed
Dark Heart of Ilzan. Yep.
Oh well, Dark Heart or the 2-drop.
The Emmys. Yep.
Yeah. In the Socketed Matters deck, like, sign me up.
Yep.
Wow.
One important thing to know about this card, though, is that it's unfactioned and it is a spirit. So, like, it's not enabling racial shards and it's not enabling crusaders. So, like, it is a powerful effect, but that comes at a cost in the synergy type world that we're living in.
That's fair.
Next up, we have quite possibly my favorite card in this set. It's called Stifling Sting. This card is everything a tempo aggressive deck wants in a card. It is a 3-cost quick action that says deal 3 damage to an opposing champion or troop. And then if you damage an opposing champion this way, interrupt each other action with cost 3 or less. So this is just a super flexible card. It's spot removal when you need it. It's extra reach when you need it. It's protection. It's protection for your troop when you need it, you know? Like...
All right. So what hold on, just let me, I just want to make sure that what I'm understanding here is we are now having an answer to our tempo, what is it? The tempo burn strategy?
Yeah, I think every deck that can make Sapphire and Ruby thresholds probably wants some number of this card somewhere in the 75.
And while counterintuitive, because the art says we're trying to beat up, if Yodel wanted to get feisty and look at having access to Sapphire, this feels like pretty disgusting.
Yeah, this might be a card. If you're going to make Trishard work for something, it might be for this.
Yeah, I'm interested. And in Immortal, I mean, I know you mentioned it specifically in the McVomus deck. This card feels like it's going to be a huge, huge role player in Immortal.
Yep. Next up, we have the Surging Wildfire. It is a 4-cost 1/4 with Rage 1 and Speed. It says when this attacks, deal damage equal to its power to each opposing champion. So on an empty board, this card attacks and goes up to 2 power and hits your opponent for extra 2, so it hits for 4 right away. The following turn, it hits for 6, and then it hits for 8. And this card needs to be answered very quickly or it's going to get out of control. I'm going to lose a lot of drafts to this card. I know we're talking about constructed here, but I'm going to lose a lot of drafts to this card.
Is this Scars of War's Twilight Revenant?
Huh. I guess it dies to removal at least, but like, yeah, this card's pushed. I think it's constructed playable, just like the answer or die axis.
Absolutely. Well, right, because you cast it a turn early, like one turn early, and you're just like, one on the 3 unless it has lethal.
Yep, like you till the soil into this on 3, just like.
So you better be in the blood. You better be in blood, or this card is going to run you over.
Yep.
Bring to justice, but that's a sorcery. Yeah, I'm in. Great. Monsters, rar.
And remember, even if they can block it, half the damage is unblockable, because it just goes right to the dome.
Upstairs.
Speaking of unblockable, our next troop here, we have the Underworld Officer, who is always unblockable for all of his damage. It is a 2/2 unblockable for 3 Sapphire Blood threshold requirement.
Thank
that gets
goodness.
Plus 1 power for every Underworld troop you control when it attacks. The most important thing to note about this card, it counts itself. That means when this card attacks, it's attacking for 3 power unblockable at a minimum.
Machinations. Let's get malevolent. Malevolent as possible.
Yeah, like these blood decks are going to have so much reach between Machinations and this card, and you could play Rizix reasonably, which is the 4/4 unblockable for 3. You could put the can't be blocked by troops with power less than gem in the Underworld Crusader. Like this archetype seems real now in this set.
And that you also get to pair that with the super powerful stuff like what is it? Withering Gaze. No, Withering Gaze out of the sideboard and the reprint.
Verdict.
No, and the counter, not the counter spell, but the Verdict of the
Ancient Kings. Yeah, Verdict.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Verdict. Yeah. Pairing those two together. Jeez.
Definitely an archetype I'm interested in giving a try to. And, you get the Necrotic Shard in there, so sign me up. Then we have the Viridian. Speaking of the wild Ruby cards that Ketter has been brewing within his head as we go through here. This is a 3/3 for 3.
Hex Y!
With Crush that says, Diligence, cards in your hand get -1 cost. Then if you have no cards in your hand, this gets plus power and toughness equal to her power and toughness.
There you go, Primal. There. You had to make it. You had to print it here. I'm in. Like, when's release date?
Tomorrow. Right. By the time these are posted, the cards are going to be there. We can buy them.
Carded. I'm lined up.
So this
you will
card
see me on the ladder.
So this card is self-enabling. It makes the cards in your hand cheaper and then rewards you for not having cards in your hand. So like,
is that good? Is self-enabling good?
Self-enabling gets kind of okay, I hear.
Okay.
Once or twice I played a couple of games, self-enabling cards tend to be okay.
You know, at least it's unique. Like,
yes. Yep.
no big deal. Hey, you know, and the crush stat is like that doesn't ever scale. Wait.
I mean, it's not like it's going to be 6 and then 12 and then 24. You know, whatever. Let's just
whatever.
It's not a big deal. You don't need to buy these.
I would. No. That was not a scripted bit. Never. No.
Next up, we have the War-Torn General for the last multi-shard card here. And the last card in our constructed set review is a 2-cost 1/1 with diamond ruby thresholds that says whenever you play an Ardent Troop, create a Valor, put it in your hand. And this has +1/+1 for each Valor's troop you control. There's a reason they made Lysander worse. And it's not just because of limited.
Hey Jeff, do you notice that's a 2-drop?
It is, isn't it?
Do you think War-Torn General knows how to bring the general, maybe get some mobilize going?
Get he's a little mobile. Like he's on a horse there, man. He's probably plenty mobile on that horse.
He's ready to tap for two reduced cost. I think he might be a friend of the brilliant tactician. I don't know. I'm excited.
At any rate, I don't know if this card will be a multi of, but like this is definitely a card I'm interested in playing as a fun of to enable my Ardent Crusaders.
For whatchamacallit? Holy smokes, that's what it was. The 2/1 in diamond. That's what busts this card. Wow, I am blanking hardcore, but the 1-drop.
Oh, yeah, that every time. No, this is when you play an Ardent Troop. The 1-drop, I know what you're talking about. When you Valor it, it puts itself into play. So it does not combo with this. The 2/1
summon an Intrepid Conjurer.
Summon an Intrepid Conjurer, yeah. So
you know what?
Intrepid Conjurer doesn't make infinite Valors with this or large amount of Valors. God bless.
All right. Yep. Well done. You know what? Well done.
Their design team, they're kind of good at their jobs. It's weird. So strange. Yep.
Huh. I'm glad we're not catching this in the spoiler. Huh. Who did that? I don't know.
At any rate, I'm Jeff Hoagland. I've been joined here by Kent Ketter. Thank you for hanging out through the entirety of our constructed Scars of War set review. If you need to buy any of these cards or any previous Hex cards, you can do so at hexprimal.com, and you can use code Jeff5 to get 5% off of all of your orders there. We will see you guys on the ladder.